You now tuned into the hottest podcast in the world, the Stay Woke Podcast, right here on TheSonicBreakdown.com.
Welcome back to another Stay Woke Podcast. This is DeRa Brinson, and you know the Stay Woke Podcast is presented by TheSonicBreakdown.com. We were preparing for a podcast, and the question was presented regarding feminism, and it immediately took me to something that was in recent events that I saw on Twitter between Emma Watson and Beyonce. Let me introduce our guests in the podcast today. We got Ready, of course.
Yeah. What's up with y'all?
And then we got Miss Alanna Jane.
Hey there, DeRa. Great to be back. Thank you.
Let's fill everybody in on what happened if they don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Emma Watson did a cover for Vanity Fair, and in that cover, portions of her breasts were exposed, and this was then the Twitter world and social media world then blew up and attacked her in essence. Well, I won't say attacked, but just had strong opinions, I'll say, regarding that photo shoot since, and brought up comments that she made, I believe, in 2014. Regarding Beyonce. And of course, you know, anything related to the Beehive, they will defend to the death. I'm going to just quickly... Actually, no, I'm going to let y'all read it for yourself, do some research. But she made some comments regarding Beyonce. We each have different opinions on what the comments stated by Emma Watson regarding the Beyonce Lemonade video meant. And I'm going to let Ready go first and tell us what he thought those comments that Emma Watson made meant to him.
So when I first heard the comments and I read them and made sure I looked at them multiple times, it basically... I kind of was on the bandwagon, but I'll give you a little more a reason why. But it felt like she almost said, "You're too sexy to be a feminist." And when she said this, she said a particular term that was basically saying that Beyonce alludes sexuality, or she makes sure that her dancing, her performances, or her demeanor is that of a sexual, explicit nature that quantifies how men look at her. So she was almost saying that in I think a nice or British way. That your body, your demeanor, your appearance that you show to the public is over-sexified to be a feminist.
You made that shit up. Over-sexified.
That's an actual word. Almost saying that you being sexually outgoing or showing that, you know, your body's bootylicious, you know, is too much for you when it comes to being a feminist. That takes back for me. But I kind of... offline, I was talking to Miss Jane, and one thing I love that she kind of said that I have to agree with, but I still believe that's what Emma Watson said, regardless of what Mr. D-Ray said.
Well, then hold that thought. Let Alanna Jane say what she thought the quote meant, and then we'll dive deeper into more information behind it.
Yeah, I mean, the salient point off the whole disagreement is, are women allowed to play sexuality as a power card? When women deploy sexuality or call attention to themselves via sexuality, is that a move that they can make and retain their power, or is it a move that gives power away, essentially? I feel like that's the key issue.
So are you saying that Emma Watson was saying that Beyonce was too sexy to be a feminist? Are you agreeing with me?
So I don't think there's such a thing as too sexy to be a feminist. So I have to wholesale disagree with Emma, saying that there's a line there, that there's a point at which you're too... That, though? I feel like she's bringing, I'm kind of into what DeRa has indicated also offline. Like, she's bringing the question into the arena. But as to the veracity of the question, or the truth of the question, is there such a thing as too sexy to be feminist? That's a deep question.
And that's exactly what I believe as well, is that I think the quote that she was saying about Beyonce's Lemonade video was formulating the question of what is the line, because I don't know it.
But even when you formulate the question, my girl says one thing that I hate every time she says, it's not what you say, it's how you said it.
But this is what I'm saying. How I'm reading a quote. Yeah. I don't know how is she saying it.
You didn't see the video?
No, that's what I'm saying. I never saw. No, all I saw was the words on the page.
Right, it wasn't verbal.
And I took it as that at face value. Oh, no. This is the words that she said, and to me, so that's why I have a different that's why I interpret the message differently, is because, like I said,
I'll say this.
It was literally,
I saw the video.
I read it.
In her video, when you know how like we've said multiple times that a lot of communication itself is nonverbal. It's your body, it's your language, it's your face, especially your face, the most expressive thing you have in your whole entire body. When you look at the video, she almost said that whole, like, I can't think of the actual verbatim what it says at the end, but the whole last part of her statement, she basically had that look like, bitch, you ain't there yet. Or you really, it was kind of like, it wasn't just posing the question, it was posing the question in an asshole-ish way. Like, this is not, I'm not trying to say this in a nice way, but I'm going to present it in a nice way through my words. But my face, my body, my demeanor, my tone will show you that's not how I meant it.
So, well, okay, because like I said, I haven't seen the video. I'm just going based on the words that I've seen written, and the quote, and the last part of the quote that I read was, that I saw was that she's basically saying that the way that the video was shot was from a male voyeuristic perspective.
Can you read the quote? The last part of the quote.
Yeah, let's have the quote.
Read the last
verbatim.
Part of the quote, please.
Okay. As I was watching, and then it has in parentheses Beyonce's visual album, which is the Lemonade video, I felt very conflicted. I felt her message felt very conflicted in the sense that on the one hand, she's putting herself in a category of a feminist, but then the camera, it felt very male, such a male voyeuristic experience of her.
So one of the reasons why I really wanted to
me, it's her
that.
opinion of saying that the way it was shot was, yeah, she's saying she's a feminist, but it was shot in a way that, from a male's perspective, that a male would want to see. And to me, that's asking the question is, basically from a male's perspective, it's saying is very over-sexually, very sexual in essence, or that's what I'm inferring from.
Is it quote. Feminist to please men? That's another question.
That is, and
straight out.
And that is, now that you mention it, that is also what I'm taking from that quote.
Because I feel like that's some part of the unsaid content of the quote. Like, if you're playing to a male audience, is there a way to understand the action as feminist? I think yes. Emma is clearly questioning. There might be other listeners who think that there's no way that that's possible.
I agree with you, because if it's flipped on a male perspective, male have no issues with other males taking off their shirt to please the female viewers.
Right. They understand that.
It goes without saying.
Yeah, it's context driven,
and they placate to that all the time. But on TV shows, a guy, it will make no sense, but they'll strip off their shirt to show that they have a nice chest and ass.
But I'm agreeing with you. It has
nothing to do with the scene, nothing to do with the storyline.
I agree with you saying in that part, but I got to go back to Miss Alanna's comment on, is it truly a feminist person or a feminist femininity, if that's a word or concept? Is it being feminist, a feminist, if you want to please your man? Like, I'm not saying that it is a very deep question. It goes back to that question, because,
and that's what I'm saying. I think it's fair to ask the question.
But what I'm saying with her, I still don't feel that she's asking. That's the question. I'm saying I feel that within even the first part of that case statement, when you said that her message was unclear and mixed, I felt that she was coming with it and saying that the message I got from it, I talk about Emma Watson, was in a concept of, I don't think she gave a clear, defined message of what she wanted to show in Lemonade. And then when it came to her message that she did show, it was more on just pleasing men instead of showing my strong female qualities. It was more on making him happy instead of showing that I'm a beast when it comes to the female concept.
Yeah, I didn't take it that way. And I'm not saying that you're right or you're wrong. I'm just saying I didn't take it that way. And I do want to get to the deeper questions of what Miss Alanna Jane brought up, as well as in, is it okay, or can you be a feminist and still please your man? Can you still be a feminist and be over sexual, or is there a line? Is there a border? And how do you determine what entails that?
Yeah, it's deep right there, that question.
And to me, I guess the way I navigate through life as trying to determine that I'm not being
misogynist.
Yeah, misogynist, not being
chauvinistic,
not overlooking and not being present to the benefits that are given to me because of the world that we live in. and that I consciously make an effort to equal out and balance it the best that I can. And the way that I determine that is, my opinions are, if a man or one of my friends said, did, or acted, portrayed, or anything in that regard, would I view it? How would I view it?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
say more about that.
When it's presented by a woman. So if a woman comes to me, or let's say, fake scenario, a woman says, "Oh, I did A, B, and C," and the way that I make sure that the way that I'm viewing those actions of A, B, and C is, I go, well, what would I think if boy, male, did A, B, and C?
That's a good way to check it.
And if it equals out to be the same, then I go, okay, then there is no bias. Mm-hmm. And of course, that's not the perfect method, but it's the only method I have. So that's the way that I balance it out. And so that's why when you ask the question of, can you be overly sexual? Mm-hmm. From a male's perspective, I don't have an issue. I wouldn't do it, but I don't have an issue with when I see males doing it, because like I said, I've seen it on TV shows all the time. Like literally there'll be a skit that has nothing to do at all. You can be talking about politics and then he'll just rip off his shirt and flex his chest.
But I want to play all the girls. I want to play devil's advocate one time.
Whatever.
We see that all the time. And
that's not an issue. So why would I have an issue if a woman does something similar or to the equivalent?
Don't we see the opposite? When I say opposite, females doing almost the same thing. We see music videos that have nothing.
But to me, there's a difference. Explain. And the difference is in that is the women are in those videos. The women aren't in the position of power. They're not usually in those music videos, in those situations that we see. But
are they decorating the scene
exactly versus being the center,
or are they driving the scene?
Exactly. In the situations that I'm talking about, the interview, they're being interviewed. Okay. They're the ones of the attention, and when they rip off the shirt, is their decision to bring the attention on those particular parts of their body that they want to.
Then I'll switch it.
And if
Hold on. So that's why. Can I switch it? Have you ever seen the show Scandal? Has anybody here seen Scandal?
Nah.
So Scandal is about this black chick that is literally
Kerry Washington, shout out.
Right there. Is literally the other woman to the president of the United States. She has sex with him in every concept, in every place, and everywhere, all the time, despite the fact that she's married. Does that still make her a strong feminist, even though she has a strong part?
Yes.
Yeah. To me, I mean, why wouldn't it not?
Because
if it's a man in that same, if it's a man in that same position, we would have no issue because he's getting he's getting it done.
I'm not disagreeing.
Now when you're talking about morally, do I think that what she's doing morally is right? No, but that has nothing to do with feminism. But to me, to me, morally and feminism are independent of each other.
I think that's actually right. I think that's right.
Because there's a lot of things that I think a lot of people do that I don't think are morally right, but that's regardless of gender. I don't care if a man does it. If a man or a woman does it,
maybe not even morals though. Maybe more a question of ethics. But similar idea. Yeah. Similar idea.
So then, both of your concept. Just I want to see the other side of it. So like Little Kim, or back in the day, what was that one chick that did my neck, my back, lick my?
I forget her name.
Kaya. Wait, who?
Kaya.
Would that still be to you a strong explanation, showcase of feminism?
To me, yes. To me, absolutely, 100% yes.
Could you give me more insight as a guy? Guy?
Let me comment on that more. So what it is sex is a huge source of power.
It sells.
So yeah, and it sells. It sells. It has value. Capitalism has assigned sex value. To me, when Kaya sings that song, she's using the culture that we've created to benefit herself. And to me, there's nothing more feminist than reading the landscape and making moves that benefit yourself as a woman. So if she's using sexuality, if she's being graphic and men happen to enjoy it, men happen to be titillated by it, I say more power to you. I say use the tools in your arsenal. If you can write a fucking slam ass song that happens to be sexually graphic and get your ducats, to me that's feminism in action to me.
What do you think that
I'm gonna say? I can't I mean, as being a guy, I'm trying not to be closed-minded in general. But,
no, do it.
To me, I don't get that concept because then to me, from what I've seen in feminism, what is not feminism? Because you say extreme sexuality is feminist, non-extreme sexuality is feminist. Female standing up for a job.
I have an answer for you.
What is not feminist?
And wait, can I give my answer first?
Yeah, no, do it. Do it, DeRa.
Well, first I want to touch on the Kaya thing. And the reason why I agree with you that it is a showcase of feminism is because you have yin yang twins going from the windows to the walls. Look my dick and my balls. You know what I'm saying? Like, so they can say that, and it's not an issue. And Kai saying, "Look my pussy." Like, so to me, the fact that there's the equivalency factor again, that's what I go back to is.
So I just want to know what is not.
Like I said, so my question to that, or my answer to that is, to me, feminism is the idea that the idea of gender equality, in essence, of the fact that regardless of whatever you determine that, like I said, the equivalency test that I go by of whatever you determine would be okay for a male should be okay for a female, regardless of situation, regardless of any variable. If it's okay for a male, it's okay for a female. Because
that's why I have to disagree. I don't believe feminism and gender equality are the same thing.
Then what's the difference?
So okay, and then I'm gonna let Miss Jane because I know she has something to say, so I apologize. But
no worries, do it.
The thing is, so I talk to females all the time about this kind of concept of gender equality, and a female would want where they get paid the same, which I think they should. They get the same kind of rights when it comes to sexuality and reproduction, and I think they should. But when it comes to true things that guys do lose, and when females don't always think about the parts guys losing, this comes into divorce, alimony. This comes into children. This comes into the domestic violence. Because right now, Miss Jane, I love her to death. But if she whoops my ass and I call the cops on her, in most cases, I'm still going to jail. Even though she started and I never hit her. When we talk about gender equality, I truly believe feminist is showing my power, what I have. This is what I can do and you can't stop me. But gender equality, most females don't truly believe in it, because if they truly believe in gender equality, it would go to concept when it comes to the laws, when it comes to rape, when it comes to children, when it comes to divorce. You would want equality when it comes to that, where I don't automatically lose as a guy.
Ooh, put a pin in that. Ready, because that is an excellent point. There's ways we should break that down, but that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I do want to touch on that, but go ahead.
Yeah, so what I was going to say to answer the first part of the question is, where do you draw the line about feminism? And I'll break it down for all y'all who have penises, who are listening to this podcast right now. It's about consent. What is Kaya doing when she's putting out her sexuality? Is someone making her put out her sexuality? No, she is choosing to capitalize on her sexuality and bring us into her world. Think about her body, think about her sexuality, and she has set the terms. It's her piece of art. She's inviting us in. It's really, if you want to understand about feminism, it's about consent. It's about, what is the woman putting out there? What has she agreed to put out there? What is she putting out there on her own terms? Not because she was forced to do it, not because she was backed into a corner, not because society demands it, not because her male, whoever, partner, spouse demands it, but what is she putting out there herself as part of her power? Those actions are feminist. I think it's about that. It's about the buy-in of the woman herself. It's about the drive of the woman herself and her actions that she's taking. If they're coming from her and are not coerced in any way, those are feminist actions. It's a woman using the tools that she wants to use, the words that she wants to use to describe her situation as she sees it. And the way she wants to do it. Yes, and the way that she wants to do it, exactly. So that's what I would say for that.
So the question that I have then is, I definitely agree with that point tremendously. And that's what I was saying when you brought up the situation of the music videos. To me, in the music videos, it's not in the sense of, this is what I want to be portrayed. This is what I'm, but loose terms of coerced.
Is it exploitation?
But it's not exploitation if it's only exploitation if somebody's benefiting off of it when exploiting you. You can't really exploit yourself.
Right, like if you don't have a pimp, you're not being exploited.
Yeah, like if you're choosing
to... verbally you're using the word pimp, you're, I just forgot what they call them, like, so I apologize in advance, your agent. Okay, your agent can still be your pimp.
It isn't, because your agent, any true artist knows your agent's getting a percentage of your cut.
And the agent works for you. Do you work for them, or do
your
you?
Agent only gets you on as a video hoe.
No.
Isn't that still exploiting you?
No, because you picked that agent. You can fire and hire that agent as you please. And the agent's getting, what, 15, 20% at the most? 20%. 20% to what your cut is. So that means you always have say.
So really
That's
there's nuance there. There's nuance there, because some video hoes are enacting their feminism, and some video hoes maybe are not.
Exactly. And so that's why it's not as black and white.
Depending on a bunch of things.
Yeah, it's their choice.
I'm with it.
Like, did they choose it actively, or did they feel like they had no other option? Like, that's very key to understanding, I think, about consent and about feminism widely.
Now, I want to ask you your opinion on gender equality versus feminism. Is there a difference, and what is that difference to you?
That's great, because that's what we were just putting a pin in from what Reddy was saying. So I feel like we can actually take a lesson a little bit from racism and how that works, because it's another mode of oppression. So, like, when we say there's no difference between white people and black people, I think those of us who are, I'm going to say, woke, understand that that's actually ridiculous. Yeah. Like, that's actually it obstructs the issue. Like, it makes the issue harder to see, to say there's no difference between black people and white people. That's actually not true. So I think when we say there's no difference between men and women, I think it actually suffers from the same problem. It's erasing differences that are actually important to understand when you're trying to relate to a group of people that you don't belong to. I think it's acting like there's no difference between men and women. Where we get into a damaging way of understanding that is when we say if we say there's a difference in the potential of men and women, that is a model of oppression. That's an oppressive way to think about things. Where you have to turn it on and off. Like, a man and a woman could conceivably hold any job. And that's an important idea. That's true. Well, but then when we break it down, how hard is it for the man to get the job versus how hard is it for the woman to get the job? Then the differences become really important. And if you don't acknowledge them, you're actually enacting oppression. Yeah. So, like, there's like a moment for it. The premise must be equal. The methodology is very separated between men and women. Same I would say between when a white person tries to achieve something in our culture versus a person of color. Exactly. Same shit.
And that's why I wanted to touch on when you brought up in the legal aspect.
Yeah.
And in that aspect, just like you were saying, what I'm saying changes, because in that situation of, you're saying that when a cop comes to a situation, he's going to automatically take the belief of the woman over the male.
That's an important critique of it. Yes. That's very important.
And to me, that's important because of, you have to take a lot of factors into account. One is the history that we have of situations of domestic violence, rape, situations of male against female violence has been overlooked, underreported, and overwhelming. So that it's to the point of swinging that pendulum to the opposite direction. And it tends to go like that. And still, it's not to the point where it needs to be, because things when we say we have to see it for rape, like, video makes a difference. We should be at the point where if somebody says it should be valid enough as a video. So those are the things that you have to be taken into account when we're talking about it on the legal as well as the overall picture of it.
Yeah. So what I was going to bounce off of that idea, rape is underreported. There's one of the ways in which oppression manifests is obsession with the tiny percentage of situations where there's a false report. There's two ways that plays out that come to mind immediately. Like, the tiny percentage of rape accusations that are false reports are fixated on by our culture. Like, oh no, what if it's a false report? Yeah. When, like, statistically, false reports are a teeny ass percentage of those assaults that are reported, which is and reported assaults are a teeny ass percentage of actual
yeah,
assault
it's
level.
the iceberg.
And it's like a distorted, like, a nice girl, nice girl wouldn't report her boyfriend for date rape, like that whole message. So there's that. And it again has a correlation in race relations and white supremacy, in that the example that comes to my mind immediately is what Republicans trot out constantly about voter fraud. Like there's this tiny ass percentage of voter fraud, and we act like that 1 or 2% situation is grounds for laws that end up oppressing and disenfranchising huge proportions of communities of color, because oh no, what if it's a it's voter fraud. It's the same sort of distortion where like the teeny sliver is obsessed upon by the group that's in power, men or white men, whoever you want to.
The same thing that they do with the immigration laws of what they're saying about Mexicans, that they're thugs and killers and drug dealers. And
yes, the teeny ass sliver.
It's a very small percentage of that population.
Exactly. So do we legislate?
Super lazy and living off the land.
Yeah. So like,
do we legislate based on that tiny ass percentage, or do we legislate based on the masses? Mm-hmm. Like logically, or at least morally and ethically, I feel like we have to legislate off the masses. But the way that things work in our culture is that we legislate based on the teeny ass exceptional percentages, and it's to no one's benefit for sure.
Yeah, and that comes with its benefits and downsides. Benefits for the oppressors, and downsides for the oppressed. So
yes, like what is true, like what is regarded as common sense is always defined by the oppressor. So we have to be skeptical of it. What's common sense? Like you have to put it through the mill. Yeah. Common sense a lot of the times is a legacy of the oppressor.
Common sense is not always that common.
Exactly. Ready. Totally.
So now that we've given our loose definitions of feminism, what side do we stand on this Emma Watson Beyonce? Bring it back, bring it home.
I still stick with what I said. I felt from
say it again.
Finish it off, and I'll go with both comments real quick. I still feel that Emma Watson's comment had the initial aspect of assholeness when she was asking the question, "Are you really a feminist?" being that sexualized for men, and then when it came back at her because her showing basically the topless. And what it wasn't Vogue. I keep on forgetting what it was called.
Vanity Fair.
Vanity Fair. So I apologize.
No worries.
Vanity Fair. Yeah, it was a sexy picture. She looked good. She looked great. But she came at Beyonce basically on the concept of sexuality, and then the same thing came back to her. And I felt like it just came. It was 360. It came back on her with the same shit she came at Beyonce with. So I am on Beyonce's side of, if you're really gonna come at me with this crap, you shouldn't do this crap.
Hypocrisy.
What about you?
Correct.
So where I land on this one, I'm still with Beyonce because I'm about autonomy and use of power. Whatever cards you're dealt, you play them how you want to play them, especially if you're a woman. So I'm Beyonce all day. However, I want to make room for Emma Watson's, what I believe is an honest introduction of the question of where is the line. I feel like it's important to discuss that. And I've been impressed with other areas in which Emma Watson has displayed very excellent feminism. So I'm not saying she was wrong. I'm saying the answer to her question about is it feminist is yes. It's still feminist for Beyonce to be sexy as fuck and use her sexuality however she sees fit to make her art and get her message. So I don't know if that really truly answers the question, but like I'm with Beyonce that whatever she does is a feminist because she's a feminist woman. But I do allow Emma to ask questions about it.
What I will say about it is I agree that I am with Emma Watson having the ability to ask the question and having the growth to change her opinion about how she felt about it. Because that was 2-3 years ago.
Right, 2014.
Yeah,
so
it's been a while.
She has time to learn and change her opinion about what she thought feminism was. Mm-hmm. And now that she might be able to understand where Beyonce was coming from because of new experiences. So I'm on both sides.
Agreed, dude.
Agreed.
But spawn another question that I want to ask before we end it, which is what classifies someone being sexist?
Sexist?
what would define somebody being sexist today? If I may go, I kind of have to go with the statement that you said. If if your statement is something along the lines of, oh, wow, that's good for a girl, or, oh, yeah, that's not what girls normally do, when you can't see both genders, or, because I hate the concept of two genders, because we know there's more than that, but we'll just leave it at that for now.
Yeah. Just and let me preface that because we've been saying it this whole time, but it's just for simplification purposes.
I get you.
Of having terms at this time.
I believe sexism.
So I apologize to anybody that we might have offended.
I believe sexism, if you see any gender as weaker, one is sexism. If you see one gender as the dominant, controlling and all inclusive person, that's another one. If you see gender as I can do something because I'm a dude, and as a guy saying this, you can't because you're a female, sexist. Or you believe you can't do this as well, you have limitations, or you have blocks on the potential or the full outcome that another human being has based on their gender, to me quantifies the concept of sexism, because sexism means you think one sex is inferior in a concept.
Okay. Yeah. I'm kind of with you. Ready. I could say more about it. No, did you want to talk to you, Ray?
No, go ahead. I'm formulating some
thoughts. Yeah. So for me, like, say we're considering Beyonce. Like, if you're sitting there and you're like, Beyonce, you know, she's a multi-platinum selling artist. She's done all these tours. She has all this money. She's married to Jay-Z. She has this amazing daughter. She's all these things. And like, if you can look at all that and then you look at the videos and you say, well, she's, you know, look at that dancing. If you think any part of that diminishes her or places her below you when she is an amazing, successful businesswoman and artist, that's sexism broken down right there. Like if any part of her actions in your mind diminishes her overall power and success story, which we can read fucking in Wikipedia, that's sexism.
Amen.
That's where I'm going to lay on that one.
And I'm going to concur with both of you.
Nice.
First time I think we all agreed.
Yeah, there's not really much more for me to add to that.
DeRa, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Do it.
As the person who you are, is there any advice can you give to the males out there that would help them with their concept of sexuality, since we do know
Ooh, I've got advice
too. Majority of males are sexist. And I'm saying that as a guy. Is there any advice you can give to them to help and open their minds, at least give them the inkling of your viewpoint when it comes to sexism?
I'll say the first part is acknowledging that you live in a male-dominant society.
A patriarchy.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So first, I think that is the first step. If you have to understand that you're living, what world you're living in, and understand the power and the privilege that you have just because of the gender that you are. Which leads me to, again, I have to include music to all of our podcasts.
Yes.
Some way, some form. Odyssey, he has an album called Iceberg, and he has a song in there, and actually this reminds me of a line where he says, I get paid more than my sister just because I was born a mister.
It's an amazing line, by the way. Shout out to that artist.
Odyssey, you should check his album out. It's really good. He's a real deep brother. He's thinking very, very deep.
That's super deep.
You have to understand that you're living in that world, and understand the privileges that you have and that you're awarded. So that's the first thing that I did. The second thing that I continue to do and work on, try to do every day, just in trying to be a better person, is understand that, question why I think the way I think when I think about things, when it comes to gender, when it comes to race, when I apply it to everything. I apply it to when things are presented to me. I go, if it's out of my normal situation or even in my normal situation, I go, how would I think about this if it was me in this situation, or if it was my mother, or if it was a white person, a black person, an Asian person, a Guamanian, a Guatemalan. Like, how would my opinion change and why? And then that's the next part, is asking the why of why is it changing, and then you understand what's formulating your opinions and formulating your biases, and then that's when you can work on it.
Yes, and you're displaying true empathy when you do those mental exercises.
And I think the other aspect of it for me is the fact that I was raised basically by all women. My aunt, my grandmother, my mom.
Respect to that.
So I think that gave me a different understanding of the plight that women have that I don't think I might have been as attuned to if I wasn't in those situations. I saw the struggles that my mom had with employment, just how men treated her just in normal situations that I don't think I would have been as attuned to if my father or a male person was there, because then, you know, that would responsibility would be on them, not me, or me feeling that onus wouldn't be on me. So I think I just was more attuned to those situations, and it gave me a different outlook on women and the issues and struggles that they go through. Does that make me perfect at it? Hell no. Still, I guarantee you I probably said some sexist things on this podcast right now. Or on some other ones probably. So it's something that you just kind of have to constantly work on, and just constantly try to get better, and surround yourself with good people that will inform you and not afraid to tell you, hey, you said something sexist, and then be able to have the ability to give a diatribe on why it was sexist that you did, and then you can have the discussion and then improve upon yourself. And that would be my advice.
I love it.
So just to bounce off of that a little bit and kind of speak independently on it a little bit. So all the men out there, it's hard to use the word feminist. Like if someone's like, hey, you know, gentlemen out there, are you a feminist? There's like a big attraction to say no, like, you know, feminism is for lesbians, or feminism is for like white ladies who are bored.
It can have a negative connotation.
Yeah, it can. And I want to encourage all of the male listeners to really dig deep into yourselves. If you're with your girlfriend or your wife and you think that she has common sense, she does right by you, she's doing her best, and you don't question the actions and decisions that she makes simply because she's a woman. Like if you're in a relationship like that, spoiler alert, you're a feminist. And I just want to let y'all know that, and just start to get comfortable with it, so that the next time someone asks you if you're feminist, if you're with a woman that you respect, you are a feminist person.
And you should be proud of that.
Exactly. And it doesn't necessarily even need to be about heterosexual couples, although that does come up a lot. So like if you're in that, great. If you're into your lady and you feel like she makes good decisions for you and takes care of you, you're feminist. Great. Congratulations, you graduated into that. But it's not necessarily only that. If you want to be in a world where whoever is your boss, whoever is the teacher of your child, whoever is your doctor, whoever is your lawyer, if you're getting into the room and you see this person and they have expertise and they happen to be a woman and you're cool with that, again, you are a feminist. I don't want to ruin your day by telling you that you're a feminist.
She's blowing people's minds right now.
For real. Like, I just want men who have had positive experiences with women, who've trusted them, who've been brought into good things by women. I want you to use that word because it's an important word to women. Like me as a woman, like when I hear a man talking about feminism in a politically sensitive way, even if they're questioning what it means, the idea that they're engaged with the concept, that they care about whether it's progressing in society, if they care about whether women are treated well by our society, even if they're not ready to use the F word, I'm listening to you. I'm here for you. I want to make space for you to join the discussion. So all of you out there who are listening and thinking about the women in their lives, I want you to think about that feminism word and really think about taking it into yourself, because every time a new person identifies as feminist, you broaden the definition of what feminism is, and that can only be good. I'm just going to put that out there.
I agree. So already, you up?
I ain't got nothing much more to add. Like what y'all been saying is lightweight beautiful.
Lightweight beautiful.
Like kind of I have to, the only thing I can really say is second a little bit what DeRa said, second a little bit what Miss Jane was said is that there was a saying that my mom used to say, and a female brought you into the world, and a female can always take you out.
That's a good place to end it, I think. That's good.
And I always loved it because as a male, even though unfortunately we do live in a patriarchic world,
For real.
No man could truly survive without a woman. We can't reproduce. We can't move forward. Most of the time when me as a dude with
can't get no clean clothes. Just saying.
Me as a dude with my girl, like I'll say the reason why I understand feminism more because my girl is a strong, powerful female.
Nice.
And she keeps me in place. When I'm fucking up, when I'm not on my shit, she makes sure she tells me. And to me, that shows you in general, any guy, I want to touch what DeRa was saying is, you can't have a strong male without a strong woman. Exactly.
And just real quick point, Ready, why is she doing that? Is it because she's a nagging harpy? No, it's because she loves you.
She wants me to succeed.
She wants you to be the best version of yourself.
And that to me is part of, I have to go back to what you said earlier, Miss Jane, is you can still be a feminist and want your significant other, if it's guy or girl, whatever it is, to rise higher than they were before they came with you. I used to have a saying was,
totally.
I don't want to rise without you. I want to rise together with you.
That's
and
lovely.
It just shows that
exactly
that combination of church and state. I'll say because state is that the marriage proposal, the wedding certificate, and the church is actually the ceremony. But without both, you can't be married, and without love and harmony, you can't really have a good relationship. And
that's
regardless
good.
of if you want to get married or you want to be single. A true guy, and I will have to say this, really does need a strong person, regardless of what you consider that as, behind your back. And for me, as a straight young man, mine is always a strong female that can show me when I'm fucking up, help me when I'm doing great. I don't want her to be my mom. I want her to be my girl. I want her to be my wife. I want her to be my
such a key
other.
point you just raised. This woman is not your mama. She's your girl. Just shout out to that real quick. I can speak in more depth. If anyone needs notes or like the Cliff's Notes version of that, you can come find me on the internet. But yeah, that exact point. Not your mama, your girl.
And that will probably be a topic that we'll address at another time.
Yeah, not your mama, your girl, the podcast.
Major difference.
But I want to say thank you to Miss Alanna Jane for coming, as well as Ready. And
all day.
If anything, at the end of the day, I want to say thank you for listening to the podcast. And, and what I was going to say is that, if anything, I hope that it just raised more questions in you to just question things that's going on with you, life, society, and comment on it. Let us know what you think about what we're saying. If you agree with our definition of feminism, if you think you agree with our distinction between feminism and gender equality, just on anything we've talked about on any of the podcasts.
Hit us on the buzz.
Yeah, so definitely hit us up. You can email me at cofounder@TheSonicBreakdown.com.
Ooh, good email.
Or just go to TheSonicBreakdown.com and leave a comment
there. Engage with the shit, dudes.
Yeah, so again, I want to say thank you for listening to another Stay Woke podcast presented by TheSonicBreakdown.com. And our motto: live, listen to some great music, and above all, love more.
Nice.
We out.
Totes.